Let's turn now to the Washington editor of The Nation, MSNBC contributor Chris Hayes. Chris, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
How pathetic has this become, particularly if Senator Lieberman is right in saying that there are 60 votes or more to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell. Once it finally gets to the Senate floor, that it might not get to the Senate floor?
Yeah, I mean, once again, we're seeing, and I know I say this ad nauseum here and other places, but the absolute procedural dysfunction of the Senate, where you can have not just a majority, forget the fact that often things fail with a majority of senators, which in and of itself is absurd. But now you've met the threshold of the 60, 61, 62, 63, but because you can filibuster the procedural votes before you even get to the substantive vote, you can have a filibuster of the procedural vote on the motion to proceed so that you never get to the vote even though 62 people in a body of 100 people support it. It is destroying the democratic fabric of the United States Congress to be able to, without accountability or transparency, destroy a piece of legislation that 62% of sitting senators favor.
Let's be something that the senators are not, practical. If this does not get dealt with before the end of this year and it is postponed into the new session, what happens to Don't Ask, Don't Tell and the defense authorization bill for that matter and everything else?
Well, I mean, I don't think... It really feels like there is a very narrow window for Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal. And the reason is that you're going to have, 5 or 6 new Republican senators coming into the United States Senate. And more than that, it's very hard. I mean, the House has passed Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal. That will lapse once the new Congress starts. It's extremely difficult for me to foresee a universe in which John Boehner brings to the House floor a vote on Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal. So it really feels like, if not now or never, now or 2 years from now at the earliest.
And the DREAM Act, you can pretty much kiss that one goodbye right now?
Look, the DREAM Act is in a different situation than Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal is because it does not right now have the whip votes to get over 60. It still, I will stress, even though I stress it all the time, it still has 52 or 53 votes, which is still a majority, which in a sane and ordered world would be enough to pass a piece of legislation. But because it does not clear the filibuster, it does not have the whip votes at the moment. Now, it's a dynamic situation, but I think it's in a different situation than Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which looks like it's cleared that 60 hurdle.
And the assumption that has been in place for so long that if there were to be a tax deal, that part of that or the result of that would be that things like particularly the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell would get the space would be cleared for it to be addressed. I guess that was a fiction. Was it an accidental fiction? Was it a deliberate fiction?
Well, I think there was some deliberate ambiguity in the letter that was sent by the 42 senators and delivered by McConnell, in which I think they said something like deal with, right? So what counts as deal with? Do you have to actually vote on it? But of course, they want to throw roadblocks up and run out the clock on voting it. I mean, I don't think people understand when Reid has to bring something to the floor, he's looking at 30 to 60 hours just to get it to the point where it can get a vote. When you're dealing with such a contracted time frame, they really are. I mean, this is basketball before the shot clock era. With the four corners offense. They are just running out the clock right now. They've been doing it since day one, right? I mean, they've been doing it since the first day of this Congress, but we're seeing it in its most sort of extreme form right now. Can I say one more thing about that Ben Nelson quote?
Yes. Go ahead. About Senator Stimpy? Go ahead.
Sometimes I want to run around Washington and just grab anyone on Capitol Hill in a suit by the lapels and say, do you understand that the country is burning right now? I mean, the distance, the social distance and psychological and emotional distance from what is going on right here and right now in Washington and what is going on in a country with record personal bankruptcies, foreclosures, and 10% unemployment is galling.
Well said, sir. We call him Senator Stimpy not just because he looks like Stimpy. Chris Hayes of The Nation, great thanks as always, Chris.
Thank you, Keith.